This is Grace Lynn Keller with the Becker Private Equity and Business and Becker Business Minute podcast. I'm excited today to be joined by Antonella Pisani, who is the CEO and founder of Eyeful Media. So Antonella, thank you so much for joining me today. And I would love for you to start out by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about Eyeful Media.
Yeah, sure thing. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. By way of background, I've been involved with digital for about 26 years. Started out as a web designer back in college. Really worked on the corporate side up until about 7 years ago. Was working for companies like Fossil, JCPenney, Guitar Center, ProFlowers, so larger enterprises. And started consulting by myself about 6 years ago and have built it up into a business. We're now about 26 people. We focus primarily on performance marketing strategy. Really what that means is a lot of digital marketing and really focused on helping people sell more, drive more leads for their business. And then we also do a fair amount of work for private equity firms, more so on the due diligence side.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for taking the time to join me. And I would love for you to start off talking about some of the things that you're most excited about this year and at this present moment in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, one thing that's really interesting as we've matured as a business is, we're really focusing on training and developing our team this year. So, really focusing on leadership topics, everything from like 5 dysfunctions of a team, servant leadership, making committed actions. What's really cool to me about this is that I was really fortunate early in my career. I was exposed to some of these topics, but most companies that I had the opportunity to work at, this is the type of training that's really limited to senior vice presidents, EVPs, and we're trying to make it accessible to people at all different levels in the organization. And, we've also been leaning into executive coaching for some of our staff and really investing in them as people. I think that's been a lot of fun, just watching leaders kind of grow and blossom in the organization. On the personal front, I'm actually working on launching a nonprofit that should go live this week. So it's going to be a huge intellectual challenge, but also a lot of fun and something for the team to really rally around as well.
That's so wonderful. Congratulations. And are you able to tell us a little bit about the nonprofit, or is that being kept with closed lips until the launch?
No, I can certainly talk about it. Hopefully, it'll be live by the time this episode comes out, but we're really focusing on addressing hygiene poverty and hygiene insecurity. So, one thing I learned back in August was that food stamps don't cover basic goods like shampoo and deodorant and toothpaste. And it's all these things that really live at this intersection of physical health, mental health, education, employment. And, I would say it's something that most people don't know about. I certainly didn't know about it until I had the opportunity to spend a few days with a friend who's a university or a college president, and he's doing a lot of great work alleviating poverty on campus to allow his students to finish their education. And so when we learned about it, the fun tie-in with this podcast is my co-founder is actually a private equity guy. We just decided it was something that was worth attacking. So I'm just waiting for the lawyers to give me the thumbs up that we've filed paperwork with the IRS, and then we can get going this week.
Well, that's so wonderful. Congratulations on that. It sounds like you're doing some really important work there. But kind of shifting gears a little bit here, what are some of the trends that you're currently watching in the media space and industry right now?
Yeah, I would say, there's 3 or 4 that I'm really keeping an eye on. One thing we've seen a lot of over the last couple of months is companies are starting to refocus on organic search, which what that is the practice of optimizing your website to get it to show up higher naturally on Google and Bing. So I think what happened last year is a lot of the costs increased in areas like paid search and paid social. And so companies are refocusing on how to drive down their cost of acquisition. It requires kind of this different mindset. It's a balance between instant gratification and delayed gratification, but I feel like companies are refocusing on that. Another trend I feel like we're seeing is like CPG companies and brands that have historically really relied on wholesale for their sales, they're just continuing to get more focused on taking control of their business and owning their customers. There's a lot of emergence, even in food products, like companies wanting to promote their products on Instacart and Walmart and some of these other what's called retail media networks. So just trying to take more ownership versus relying solely on wholesale. Of course, everyone is talking about AI, including us. I think everyone's trying to find the balance between where it's just really cool and then where it's streamlined work. I've seen certainly through some of the nonprofit work, there's solutions that use AI to recommend different donation amounts based on variables. Like that's really cool. A lot of people talking about, Chat GPT, things like that for content creation, copywriting. Obviously companies like Google have been using automation for a while. And, I think it's going to be about finding that balance between that human intervention and technology to ultimately drive the best results. I think, the other thing we continue to see is just shorter formats. I think attention spans are continuing to get shorter. And so a lot of trend of like kind of bite-sized media, especially out in social.
Absolutely. Those are some really great points. And I think things that everybody can see as they're continuing to build their own brands online and what kind of content that they've been putting out and what's been performing well. So that's definitely some great points there. And then my final question for you today is, you have had this wonderful career that's now culminated into being a founder and CEO. I would love to hear your best advice for other emerging leaders and people who would like to one day become founders or CEOs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we've been really fortunate. We've grown really, really quickly, and it's been strictly through word of mouth, just letting I guess really just focusing in on treating customers exceptionally well and then letting them spread the word for you. I would say a few things that I've learned over the last 6 years. One is, you absolutely get what you pay for when it comes to talent. And, if you're not ready to hire kind of the big guns right away, maybe start with contractors, but get that kind of thinking power that you really need for your team. Another one would be to build structure and organization early. I think, a lot of founders and entrepreneurs, we know how to juggle a lot at once. And I think that's what makes us good entrepreneurs. But I think the realization that not everyone is built that way. That was definitely one of the lessons I learned probably a little bit too late, a couple of years in, just seeing that people aren't wired the same way, and they need things to be in an organized, set up in an organized way. And so building that in pretty early. I would say, remember that you have the right to get smarter. Like this is a line we use a lot here. And, you're going to make mistakes and you're never going to please everyone. And so just doing the best you can every day. And I think, a couple more here would be just being realistic about how fast your organization's prepared to grow. You'll go through different inflection points where your organization, like you're building in scale, you're building in process, but if you grow too quickly during those phases, you don't want to let the ball drop with clients, and you also don't want to burn out your team. And so just making sure you're aware of some of those pieces, and then just checking in with clients early and often. We like to pull every single client once a quarter and just make sure that they're happy with the work and get their feedback about what might not be going as smoothly so that we can course correct. So those are a few of the things.
That's wonderful. Well, Antonella, thank you so much for joining me today on the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast and the Becker Business Minute Podcast. Thank you so much for your time and this wonderful conversation.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.